Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. I'm so psyched that you're here. I want to start with a question. Are you the go-to person for the people in your life? Really think about it. Do you put other people's needs above your own? Do you ever say yes when you really want to say no to avoid a conflict? Do you overgive, overfunction, and even overfeel? And do you happen to be in one of the healing arts? Anybody? Are you a therapist? Are you a doctor? Are you a nurse? Are you a massage therapist? There are so many ways to be in the healing arts. If you said yes to any of these, then today's video is for you, my friend, because so many of you have been writing into me and asking me questions about how does the fact that you're healers for a living, how does that impact your ability to have healthy boundaries, to not be codependent, and all of the things? So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you steps that you can take to be healthier in your given profession, or just if you're a healer in life, if people just come to you, so that you can also take care of yourself, because I have to say, I do believe that it's about damn time, right? Before we get into it though, if you happen to be new to this channel, introduce yourself in the comments because we're a friendly group. Do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get notified when I roll out new content, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday. And hey, if you're not new here, but you search me every week to come and see what I'm doing and get the little gems of wisdom that I share with you, subscribe, please. The statistics on how many people watch consistently and don't subscribe is insane. So please subscribe if you enjoy it. It's free and it actually helps me and it helps my numbers. So please subscribe. Thank you so much for all your questions, your comments. You know that I love this YouTube channel, this place. It's a sacred, safe space for us to be together, and I love to highlight your comments. So this is user. Wow, it's a very long username. I'm just going to go with 5J. How's that? So it's under the video, 5 Traits of Healthy Epic Romantic Relationships. And 5J says, Dear Terri Cole, you are impacting. I am sitting in Ukraine, Kiev, watching your video made by the person who lives on the other side of the planet where I have never been, and getting inspired, rethinking, and evaluating so many things because of your work. The internet is a blessing and your work is invaluable. Thank you. Wow, 5J, that makes me want to cry. I'm sending you all the protection where you are, and thank you so much for taking the time to write that comment, because I have no doubt that you are inspiring other people to share, and that is how we heal, is when we are willing to share. So let's move it on into today's content, shall we? I think we shall. Many of you, like me, are healers and helpers and are of service for a living. I remember back when I was transitioning, because many of you know I was a talent agent before I became a psychotherapist. And as I was transitioning, I had a lot of fear of what felt like this massive responsibility for people. And I felt responsible when I was a talent agent, but being responsible for models and supermodels and, celebrities, because that's what I did in the end of my career there in entertainment as I was negotiating contracts. It's a different kind of responsibility than you feel than when you're a psychotherapist. There, to me, the weight of that. And I was getting really burnt out. And I was a young therapist. It was in the first 2 years of my practice. And I was talking to my supervisor, and she was like, she was a supervisor and a therapist, but she described it this way, because I was like, why am I so exhausted? Like, I don't get it. And she was like, Tara, it's like this. Let's just visualize it like you're a doctor leaving the hospital for the evening. You're taking off your white coat. You're about to walk out the door, but instead of walking out the door, you pull over a big backpack, and then you start loading each one of the heavy charts from each one of your clients into the backpack. Then you put that on your back, and then you walk out the door. So she was basically saying, you're carrying around the weight of all of your clients' stories and their pain and their issues and their conflicts and their original injuries and their families of origin and all their dysfunction. Listen, I was somebody's therapy client too, right? I've got my own dysfunction, but her point was that I was getting burnt out only, a couple of years into my practice because my emotional boundaries were not great. And in some ways, I was relating to my therapy clients codependently, meaning even though I wasn't acting it out with the clients themselves, I was acting it out in my internal life where I couldn't turn it off. So to get to how do we change this and how do we fix this and how did I make it better, we have to look at what is codependent. What does it mean when you are codependently relating to the people in your life? So codependency, according to me, means that you're overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the situations, the circumstances, all of it for the people in your life. But it has to be to the detriment of your own internal peace, your own financial well-being, your own emotional well-being, mental well-being, right? Meaning that we're overly invested because most of us are, obviously, we're invested in the people we love, right? We want them to get what they want in life. We want them to be happy, just like we want that for ourselves. But when you're codependent, you're overly invested in that to the detriment of yourself. And the reason why I coined a new term, and really it is for this demographic, which is my demographic. Instead of just codependency, I coined a term high-functioning codependency, which some of you know, that's what my next book, which comes out in October, is about, because my clients did not see themselves in the traditional definition of codependent. Because if you think about Codependent No More with Melody Beatty, so much of that work, especially the original work, was around being in a relationship with someone who had an addiction issue. The whole concept has been broadened and extrapolated and changed over the many years. But for me, I saw a specific set of behaviors for my clients who were like me, very capable, very high functioning. The problem with not seeing ourselves in the traditional definition, and if I would say to my clients, hey, what you're describing is a codependent behavioral pattern or a relational pattern, they'd be like, no, man, no, wrong, incorrect. I'm not dependent on anyone. You know this, Terri. Everyone is dependent on me. I'm the one who's making the decisions and managing all the people and the household and doing all the emotional labor and making all the money. And listen, even if you're not making all the money, and you don't have to be, right? But if some of these things are true for you, you may identify more as a high-functioning codependent, because the problem is we make it all look so easy. And because of that, people in your life may not know that you're suffering, that you're frustrated, maybe that you're seething, right? Because the show must go on. When you're a high-functioning codependent, or an HFC, as I call it, we just make it look easy. It doesn't get in the way, even though for me, being so exhausted, I was talking about it in therapy and in supervision, but I wasn't not doing all the things that I was doing. I was seeing too many clients. There was so much going on in my life that I was doing at the time, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't function at that same level, because this is what burnout eventually does for you. It makes you stop. It makes you slow down, which is what was happening. When you think about, how many people in your life check on you? How many people check on you? And then in contrast, how many people do you regularly check on? Remember what they told you. Remember the anniversary of an important person's death in their life, or their birthday, or whatever it is. I feel like as high-functioning codependents, we have this vast capacity, like a stadium full of information about the people in our lives. But a lot of time, we don't let other people know us in that same way. We're so busy flipping the script and being like, I got it. And listen, we all have reasons why. There's very adaptive reasons why we ended up this way. For many of us, it's how we stayed safe. If you look at, and I'll give you a couple of questions in the guide that you can answer for your HFC blueprint. Like, why are we this way? Well, this is a relational blueprint. That's what your HFC blueprint is, and what we learned about relating to other people. The way that I talk about blueprints, if you're familiar with my work, then you know this, but it always bears repeating, that I want you to think about your HFC or relational blueprint the same way that you would an architectural blueprint for a house that someone else designed long ago. And a lot of my clients, and me too, I didn't even know there was a choice to think about it differently. So what we learn about relating, so much of the time, it's modeled behavior. I just looked at my parents. I just looked at the women in my life. I was like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you relate. There are so many childhood causes for us relating in this high-functioning, codependent, and dysfunctional way, but societal structures are in place. Also, many of us were indoctrinated into the school of nice, right? Like, be good, be a good girl, turn that frown around, right? If you don't have anything nice to say, and I bet every one of you listening can finish that statement, don't say anything at all. So what we learned was, don't complain and just keep on keeping on, which is exactly what I learned to do in my life, and I did. And I find that with my HFC clients, there is a tendency to minimize the childhood experiences rather than honor them. So many times I've heard my clients say, listen, I don't want to blame my parents. Like, it happened so long ago. I should be able to handle it. You are handling it. And by talking about it, that's really how we honor it, is we tell the truth to ourselves. It's not even about, you don't need to like get into it with your parents if they're still alive, if you don't want to, or you can if you want to. But what does it look like in adulthood? What does it turn out to be? Well, hyper responsibility, where we feel really responsible. Here's the codependent piece for other people. Hyper independence, where we don't want to let other people do things for us. Even if it's stuff where you regularly tally up the check when you go to dinner with a bunch of friends, right? You being the point person for the problems or the planner for everything. You may be an auto advice giver, right? You may be an auto fixer. You might be the I got it person, and really not wanting to be a burden to other people. When you think about what hyper-independence is, and again, I could be talking about just myself or talking about from other clients, that we don't want to be a burden to others. And really what that boils down to, which I did not know for years, people, just FYI. So if this comes as news to you, you're in good company. I really did not want to be vulnerable to others. Even though I wanted close relationships, I didn't want to be vulnerable. There was something about being vulnerable that was very scary. It also, in your adult life, can look like anticipatory planning, where, let's say you have a difficult family member. You may go out of your way to get the food that they like so everything is smooth. You may go out of your way to anticipate who they don't get along with and try to intervene so that they don't have to talk to that person or whatever. Anticipatory planning is basically our antennas are up so high so much of the time that we're already thinking ahead 20 steps. The problem with this, of course, is what happens when we're 20 steps ahead and we're thinking about things all the time, what might go wrong, what could happen. Well, then we're not here now, right? We can't be fully here now. So what does this create? I call it life light, where we're really not fully there. Everything just feels half as juicy, half as impactful, half as sweet, even half as painful, because only half of our mind, only half of our attention is in any one place at one time. And it's amazing how, especially with my HFCs, they're very convinced that they can multitask. And I'm like, nope, you're really not. When we are thinking about the future while we're standing and talking to someone, when we are anticipating what they're going to say and trying to make them feel better, when we are trying to avoid conflict, there is so much plotting and planning going on that you're not present. And it really does negatively impact the quality of our lives. And of course, another way that you're very familiar with, if you're familiar with my work, that this can impact us as helpers and healers and people who really care about others, whether you do it for a living or not, is that we have disordered boundaries. And so that means we're probably doing people pleasing. We're probably seeking external validation. We are exhausted. We are always dialed into the way other people feel, which makes it hard to uphold our own boundaries if someone else won't like those boundaries, or if you think it might hurt someone's feelings. And this is just exhausting to go around with just disordered boundaries. So I'll give you a little bit of information about boundaries if you happen to be new to this podcast or this YouTube channel or my work. Those of you who are not, obviously we've talked about this a lot, and of course we will continue to. But I'll just give you the quick definition of what boundaries are according to me. It's basically you letting other people know what's okay with you and what's not okay with you, right? Your boundaries are like your own personal rules of engagement. And although that sounds simple, it is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy, especially if you are a people pleaser. And you guys can take the quiz that I have. I have a great 13-question quiz, and it'll tell you what your boundary archetype is. And for those of you, if this work itself is relatively new to you, that can be really helpful. And hey, if you've been doing this for a long time, but you haven't actually done the quiz, you should do it. It's great. We've had over 50,000 people go through it. It's very accurate. Go to boundaryquiz.com. It'll take you 10 minutes to do. And I'd be curious to see in each one of the archetypes, I send you a video of me explaining what the archetype is and things that you can do to really get on a healing path. I think the most important thing that you can do if you are seeking to heal the healer that is you is raise your awareness about the behaviors in your life that are not getting you what you want. And one of those behaviors that's major is self-abandonment. Like, how much of the time do we take one for the team, even though the team is not asking us to do that? The biggest, most important thing that you can do to get on a healing path here and regard yourself in a different way, prioritize how you feel, is that you need to know that what you think, what you want, and how you feel is important. And the truth is, to heal the healer, that needs to be more important to you than what anyone else wants, thinks, or feels. And I know with my high-functioning codependence, that can be hard to do, but I really want you to think about it. It is the epitome of you must put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help anyone else with their oxygen mask, right? They say that on a plane, and they say it for a reason. So go to terricole.com/guide. I'll give you some stuff from today's episode, but I'm also interested to hear from you. Do you identify with this content? Are you a healer who needs healing, right? You have this great ability, this vast capacity to help other people in your life. But are you getting burnt out? Are you tired? I really want to hear from you. So, hang out most of the time on Instagram. That would be a great place. And I'll put up a poll as well about this. But I want to hear from you. And how are your boundaries? And do you feel like you're codependent? And you guys, as we're getting closer to the book, I will be talking about codependency a lot. The same way as we got closer to Boundary Boss, we talked a lot about boundaries because this is what's on my mind. But it's also apparently from you guys what's on your mind. So I hope that this episode of the Terri Cole Show added value to your life. I hope that you take it seriously, that you take your self-care seriously, that you take prioritizing you seriously, because it is about damn time that we treat ourselves in the same loving, kind, and considerate way that we do everyone else in our lives, everyone else who is lucky enough to be in your sphere. So thank you for spending time with me. I want to hear from you on social. And as always, take care of you.